Alright, so I'm back again on the Fabstermax Edited channel to answer Piedisliker's challenge, which is to rank my favorite games per system own. That's what the challenge is all about. All the video game consoles I ever played, I must pick my favorite game. And I've played quite a lot of video game consoles in my time. I haven't played every single one of them, but still, I've played enough to split this video in two. So this is part one, which is mainly going to focus on the Nintendo consoles I've played and my favorite Nintendo games. And the second part is going to deal with all the other video game consoles. So Xbox, PlayStation, PC, all these other things. Atari as well, because why the hell not? I did play the Atari, so that's all going to be for part two. Part one, we're going to focus on my Nintendo favorites. As you can see in Pi's video, it's going to look a little bit similar to this. And of course, I'm going to have footage for every single game I'm about to talk about. In order to just make it easier for you to visualize what I'm saying, I'm going to get certain clips of my favorite games. And I've played a lot of Nintendo games. I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy, so there's a lot to talk about here. So relax, sit comfortably. This is going to be a podcast type video almost. You can listen to this while working on, I don't know, video editing, while playing a game, while writing a fanfic. I don't know. Just know that this is going to take quite some time for me to get through, so you have been warned. But here you go, Pi. I'm gonna begin your challenge with my favorite Nintendo Entertainment System game, my favorite NES game. This is not a console I played a whole lot back when I was a kid. By then, I was just too young to play a lot of NES games. It was not during my time, so I think I spent most of my childhood on the Gamecube, and holy crap, the video was lagging, sorry about that. It's YouTube being YouTube. But the one I did play the most was Super Mario Bros., the game that pretty much started a legacy. I know it all started with Donkey Kong technically, but Super Mario Bros. Is really where it started for me. And it's a fantastic game. Even today, if you were to play it, I'm sure you'd have a lot of fun. How many times has this fucking game been re-released? I've lost count. Nintendo always finds a way to bring it back. There was the NES remix that brought back the game, and essentially you had challenges along the way, which made it a lot more interesting than the original game in my opinion. But still, the original game is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the greatest classics of all time in video game history. And if you've never played it yet, definitely give it a go. In terms of NES games, it's one of the best of all time. For sure, for sure. But that's going to be it for this one. I don't have much to say about it because, again, NES, not really my time. But I do have the console, and I do have like 5 games on it, so it counts. It counts. Next one, my favorite Super Nintendo game. If you know me a little bit, You knew this was coming. You had to know that, of course, EarthBound was going to pop up as my favorite Super Nintendo game. Quite simply put, the Super Nintendo era and the Sega Genesis era, when these two video game consoles were going at it, it gave birth to some of the best RPGs of all time. You had classics such as Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, EarthBound, just such a great collection of RPG games, and it boggles my mind that Pi went with Super Punch-Out and not an RPG. I was really surprised to see that, but hey, it's his choice, it's his list, so that's cool, but still, I absolutely had to go with RPG, and mine is EarthBound. For so many reasons. EarthBound, as JonTron said it himself, it's an experience. I think that's the best way to describe this game. It's an experience that just takes you on such a crazy and wild adventure. You fight a shit ton of crazy enemies, alright? You fight like paintings, road signs, crazy hippies. You fight Gygus, which essentially is yourself performing an abortion. There's all kinds of wild theories about exactly what Gygus is, but just Gygus alone makes this game so rich with lore and theories and, I don't know, just crazy stories that makes you want to look back at it and read into it and just inform yourself about the world of EarthBound. It's... Alright, I'm totally fanboying over here. I'm totally having a fanboy moment just talking about EarthBound, because it's that damn good. I have the original cartridge on my Super Nintendo. I'd recommend playing it on an emulator, a Super Nintendo emulator, just so you can save hundreds of dollars and not buy the cartridge. Because I don't know if a lot of people's got that kind of money right now, so I definitely recommend getting a Super Nintendo emulator and playing the game that way. Because getting the original cartridge, not an easy thing, but play it once in your life. Please do. If there's any game on this list that I absolutely recommend, it's EarthBound. I can't say enough good things about it. That I gotta shut the hell up and move on, because I gotta stop myself here, but EarthBound, complete masterpiece. Just a wonderful thing. And, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna shut the hell up, but I was thinking about something, actually, which, I might have to change a game on my list, but, I'll see once I get there. Anyway, moving on to the Nintendo 64. I have to agree with Pi on that one. We actually have the same choice. I had to go with Paper Mario. And, again, for similar reasons that Pi said in his own video, it's just such a rich adventure, once again. It's the start of such a beautiful series. Paper Mario is one of my favorite Nintendo franchise, and it's such a shame to see where it is right now, because Paper Mario had this infinite potential. Paper Mario was great. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door was another hit, and then Super Paper Mario, on the Wii was a little bit of a mixed bag. Some people liked it, some other people strongly disliked it. It was kind of a, you like it or you don't. And then Paper Mario became something completely trashy with Sticker Star and Color Splash. So it's good to go back to what Paper Mario used to be, and that's why the Nintendo 64 version of Paper Mario is such a fun throwback. The bosses were so colorful. The partners of Mario were great. The world of Paper Mario is really, really mesmerizing and just such a fun place to be. And yeah, I gotta give it to Pi. Paper Mario is also my favorite one on the Nintendo 64, but gonna move on here to my next one. On the Gamecube, I actually cheated. I don't know if it's allowed to cheat, but if it's not, I'm gonna go with Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, because I picked two games for the Gamecube, because it was really difficult for me to pick just one. And let me just play the clip right now. This moment in Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is one of the key moments that made me just love the game. When you finally face the Black Knight. It's just really original name, right? Black Knight. Holy shit, we haven't heard that one before. But still, the build up to this moment just seal the deal when it comes to Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. And it is my first Fire Emblem game that I ever played. So that's why it has such an important place in my heart. I know it's not technically the best Fire Emblem game. I wouldn't say it is. I would give that to Fire Emblem Three Houses. I think it's the most complete Fire Emblem game ever created. So Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is not on the same level, but it's the first one I ever got to play. I was starting high school back in those days, I believe, and it was actually a recommendation by someone that worked in a video game store. I wanted to buy a new Gamecube game, and he recommended Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, and thank God he did, because if it wasn't of that guy, I probably would have never gotten the chance to play Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, seeing that the game is so difficult to obtain, a little bit like EarthBound, and it's so expensive nowadays as well. So thankfully, that recommendation got me to play this game, and I played it about 30 times. As of today, I played this game so many times now, I can't get enough of it, and that's just proof of how much I love this game. I feel like Ike is the best Fire Emblem protagonist. His story is so So interesting that, as a matter of fact, they had to make 2 games to fully cover Ike's story and to cover that certain period of Fire Emblem. Yeah, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, my favorite GameCube game, but if I'm allowed to pick another game, I'd have to go with Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door on GameCube. Uh, Again, for all the reasons I mentioned why I love Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64, all the same reasons apply to this. Again, a really colorful world that just totally immerses you in it. And this part right here is when you go on the freaking moon, alright? You go on the moon to fight some sort of weird-ass cult called the X-Nauts. And Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, I actually streamed this game back in the days, and I had a lot of fun doing it. It was one of my favorite streams, me personally. Just a fantastic game. But if I cannot pick 2 games, I'd give it to Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. But if I can just give an honorable mention to Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, well, there you go. There you go. Honorable mention to this one here. A game you should absolutely own. If you have never played this one, everyone can appreciate this. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, it's a bit more of a specific taste. But this here is something everyone can have a blast with. So, for your consideration, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and there's dozens of other games on GameCube that you should play as well. It has such a wide variety of games that are worth your time. I mean, there's Wind Waker, there's Super Mario Sunshine, there's Super Smash Bros. Melee, there's Star Fox Adventures. I know a lot of people are split with that game, but Star Fox Adventures, as far as I'm concerned, is a beautiful game. What else? There's Mario Kart Double Dash. That was a lot of fun as well. So GameCube, such a lovely video game console. It might just be my favorite one. And holy crap, it's lagging pretty hard. So I think I'm going to move on to the next one on my list. But there you go. That was my shout out to GameCube. Next one, of course, is the Wii. And big surprise, it's another Fire Emblem game. This one is Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, which is the continuation of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, because Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is the first part of Ike's story, and Radiant Dawn is the conclusion of it. Radiant Dawn, from my perspective, surpasses Path of Radiance in many, many, many ways. They took everything that made Path of Radiance great and improved it. And the gameplay is really long. Like, that is a huge, huge game. I think it takes about 40 hours. If you really want to appreciate everything in the game and you take your time with it, it can take up to 40 hours, which is not quite as long as Fire Emblem Three Houses, but it was still one of the longest games I ever played back in the days. A fantastic Wii game. Again, the Wii has so many great games to choose from that it was difficult for me to go with just one. But ultimately, of course, I had to go with what is potentially my favorite game of all time. Okay, I cannot sing the praises of Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn enough. I know it sounds like EarthBound is my favorite game of all time, but it's actually this one here, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Because Fire Emblem is my favorite franchise of all time, and if I were to pick just one Fire Emblem game, I'd go with this one. I can play it again and again and again and again and again, and I never get sick and tired of it. As a matter of fact, I played it recently, and the game completely killed my Wii console, so I had to buy another Wii console just to continue playing it, and that's how dedicated I am. It doesn't matter how much I gotta pay. I'll do it just to continue playing Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. A wonderful strategy game with a wonderful cast of characters and just a really, really fun experience. Again, if you want to get it yourself, good luck. It's rare and it's really expensive, so maybe an emulator is the best way to go about it. Personal recommendation from yours truly. But moving on to the next one, which I believe is the Wii U. Okay, I kind of cheated here. I went with Mario Kart 8. I was kind of torn between Mario Kart 8 or Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I didn't know really which one to go with, but ultimately, I had to go with Mario Kart 8. I mean, look, Pi went with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is also on the Switch, so I think it's not that big of a problem for me to pick Mario Kart 8. I know it's also on the Switch, but I originally played it on the Wii U, and it is the one game I played the most. Super Smash Bros. Wii U was also in my considerations, but I had to go with this one, ultimately. It's the one I played the most, and it could easily be the best Mario Kart game. It could be the best one. Mario Kart 8, I mean, Double Dash is a really good one, so I don't know. I don't know. Mario Kart Wii was also really fun, but Mario Kart 8, I feel like it just brings everything you love into one big fun experience. So, yeah, Wii U, I'd have to go with that one. I didn't play a whole lot of Wii U. It was kind of a failed video game console, let's be honest. It didn't really turn out to be such a great thing. But for what it's worth, this is the one game I played the most. And it's Mario Kart. What is there not to love about Mario Kart? It's just a great game. Moving on to the next one. Nintendo Switch. Again, you probably saw that one coming. Of course, it's Fire Emblem Three Houses. The best Fire Emblem game, objectively. Okay? In terms of personal preferences, my favorite one is Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, but objectively, the most complete experience is Fire Emblem Three Houses. There is so much to do in this game. 4 different routes, and they recently added another route, so actually you've got 5 routes if you buy the DLC now to complete this game in a different way. It just offers a bunch of great characters, a bunch of different endings, a bunch of different paths, and the music. That's something I didn't talk about, but all the games I mentioned right now, they all have great soundtracks, and Fire Emblem Three Houses is at the very effing top of great soundtracks. My god! I could listen to the music of Fire Emblem Three Houses all day long. It's just so damn good. And I certainly hope Pi is gonna get back to Fire Emblem Three Houses. He bought the game, he streamed it a little bit, but he never got to fully finish it, as far as I know. As a matter of fact, Pi put Super Mario Odyssey as his favorite Nintendo Switch game, and I think it might be due to the fact that he just didn't play Fire Emblem Three Houses enough. Once he finally gets to complete it, his perspective might change. Maybe Pi's gonna have a change of heart and put Fire Emblem Three Houses a little bit higher on his favorite games of all time lists, because it really deserves it. Gosh, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just the best game on Switch. Okay, take my word for it. Even though I'm a huge Fire Emblem fanboy, I feel no other game can compete with it. Maybe Breath of the Wild. Sure. Super Mario Odyssey as well was a great one. But no other game has a story like Fire Emblem Three Houses. There's so much dialogue. There's so much character development. There's so much gameplay. It's absolutely insane. So definitely take a look at it. And do I have some more? Of course I got some more Nintendo games. What am I saying? I've got a bunch of other games. This one is my favorite Game Boy Color game, or Game Boy game. I just put the two together. Essentially the same thing, right? And that one would go to Wario Land 2. Funny enough, I bought this game when the Game Boy Color days were way past. Like, everyone was playing on the Nintendo DS at that time. But I went around video game shops and I was specifically looking for Wario Land 2. I'm not exactly sure why. I just maybe saw a footage of it and I really wanted the game. And even the guy at the video game shop looked at me funny and he's like, you really want this game? You sure about that? I'm like, yeah, I want Wario Land 2. Please sell it to me. It's like, okay. Funny enough, we do have one last cartridge of Wario Land 2. And I think he sold it for like $5. Cost me $5 to get this game. And I really enjoyed it. Again, it was really past the days of Game Boy and Game Boy Color, but I still had a lot of fun playing it. I would play it when I would go on the road, when I would go on trips. I would just pop up my Nintendo DS, I think it was, and I would start playing Wario Land 2. It was just a great game for some reason. I don't know why. It was a great way to pass the time, and The graphics are not impressive. The gameplay is very basic, but shit, I had a lot of fun playing it. It is what it is, right? So Wario Land 2, great one. And the Wario Land series in general is a fantastic series that gets overlooked very often. So for your consideration, once again, there you go, Wario Land. Beautiful. Moving on to the Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance, which is the one I kind of rethink now. I'm torn between Pokemon Emerald or Mother 3, but I think I'm gonna stick to my initial decision and go with Pokemon Emerald. The one Pokemon game I played the most. There isn't any other Pokemon game that comes even close to it. Pokemon Emerald is where I just put so many hours of my life into it. Let me just play a fucking clip. I just realized it was still image there. It takes everything that makes Pokemon Ruby amazing. Essentially, it's Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Sapphire mixed together with, of course, Rayquaza, a new legendary added to it. It's the best old school Pokemon game, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are gonna say Pokemon Red or Pokemon Blue is better. But to me, or maybe even Pokemon Silver, they would say, but to me, Pokemon Emerald is where it's at. It's the first Pokemon game I ever own, I want to say. It might have been Ruby, actually. No, I had Pokemon Ruby before this one. So Pokemon Emerald was the second one. But still, I played that one a lot more than Pokemon Ruby. And that's how I would spend most of my time back when I was in primary school. That would have been. I remember when you wanted to trade Pokemon, it wasn't like an online thing. You had this big ass wire that you needed to plug onto your Game Boy Advance and plug it into another Game Boy Advance, and you had to initiate a transfer of Pokemon that way. So it was really an old school way of doing things. You didn't have the luxury of just connecting to your Wi-Fi and transferring to anyone across the world. You had to know a friend or meet someone at school that could transfer certain Pokemon. So you'd go around when it was between classes, when it was the recreation period. You'd go around looking for certain Pokemon, and you'd have to carry that stupid ass wire with you to transfer Pokemon. So it was a different time, but I definitely have really fond memories of it. And that's really the game that made me fall in love with Pokemon. I wish it would go back to this. If I can take a little bit of time here to just bitch and whine about the current state of Pokemon. I did buy Pokemon Sword. I was really disappointed with it. Because when was the last game? When was the last game that was anything like the old school Pokemon games? Right? Because we had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee. That was shit. Pokemon Sword, meh, kind of disappointing too. So, I wish it was as challenging as it used to be back in the days. I wish the rivals were assholes like they used to be. Think of Gary motherfucking Oak or Blue. The rivals were such a-holes. And I missed that. The level of difficulty definitely went down. Everything is a lot more kid-friendly. All the characters are just making sure they don't hurt your feelings or something. So I wish they'd go back to how it was during the Pokemon Emerald days or the Pokemon Red or Blue or Silver days. The old school days, man. I wish they would go back to that. But enough of that. I'll just move on to the next game, which is my favorite Nintendo DS game. Yeah, that's right. My favorite Nintendo DS game. Now, I kind of cheated. On that one because Chrono Trigger is originally a SNES game, a Super Nintendo game, so it was not released for the Nintendo DS specifically, but the remake came out on it, and I feel like the remake is a lot better than the original game. They improve a lot of flaws that was there in the Super Nintendo game, so the Chrono Trigger Nintendo DS game just made this epic game even better. One of the best RPGs of all time, without a doubt. And a game I didn't expect to love as much as I did, because there's so many great games on the DS that I was expecting myself to pick another one, but no, just went with Chrono Trigger. because I loved it that much. And I spent close to 100 hours on it, I think. So another game that I wasted my life with. Great. Just great. Totally doesn't make me depressed. But definitely a game you guys ought to try at some point. If you're gonna go with the Super Nintendo game, be warned that it's not as good as the Nintendo DS version of it. Just know that. And I know they also released a version on Steam. It got a lot of negative reviews, so watch out for that. I feel like they completely messed up the game there as well. So the Nintendo DS, excuse me, truly had the best version of Chrono Trigger, and it's a masterpiece, absolute classic. Moving on to the Nintendo 3DS, I cheated once again. And that's going to be the last one for this video, so if you made it that far, congratulations. But Nintendo 3DS, I picked 3 games. See what I did there? Nintendo 3DS. I don't know if I'm allowed to pick 3, but fuck it. I had to go with 3 of them, because it is one video game console that I spent so much time on. It's absolutely insane. The Nintendo 3DS, I wasted so much time on it, playing games like Fire Emblem Awakening, Bravely Default, as you can see here, and 2 other games that are going to pop up after this one. I spent hundreds of hours playing games on the 3DS. I definitely made the most out of my purchase here. I made the most out of it. Bravely Default, a game that is so underrated. A beautiful RPG series, another one on my list. And I am so happy that they're gonna release Bravely Default 2 on the Switch. I'm really excited for it. This game, I had no expectations. I bought it because I wanted to try something new. I heard some positive reviews, so I decided to give it a shot. I didn't really know what to expect, and once I started the game, I was completely immersed in it. I was completely hypnotized by it. And it's one of those games that you have multiple paths, so you can play the game a certain way, or you can play it another way. A little bit like Fire Emblem Three Houses, so there's multiple endings, multiple routes, and there's many possibilities of what you can do with your characters. You can fully customize them, fully customize their class, so you can really transform them into your favorite playing style. So I do appreciate the liberty that the game gives you, and the music is great, the bosses are great, the world is great, and the 3D aspect of it was really cool as well. That's one thing you always want to look out for a Nintendo 3DS game. Is the 3D good or not? This one, it was absolutely fantastic. But moving on to the second one, here's a Pokemon game that perfectly brought back the things that I love in Pokemon Emerald and all the old school Pokemon games. It kind of was the last one, in my opinion, that was able to do that. Everything that came after Pokemon Sun and Moon, or Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, was disappointing. But this one really did the Pokemon franchise justice. And a lot of it has to do with the motherfucker you're seeing on your screen right now, Papa Guzma. Team Skull was such a blessing. My god, they were such a breath of fresh air. They're not a serious criminal organizations. Essentially, it's a bunch of rejects that wants to beat you up and just steal your Pokemon, or just freestyle. I don't know. just really interesting characters, and yeah, it was such a fun adventure. I bought this game again, not really knowing what to expect. I was hoping it would be similar to some of my favorite Pokemon games, and it absolutely was. I wasted a lot of time with that game. Not proud of that, but shit, it was really fun. Pokemon Sun and Moon. The last great Pokemon game, in my book. Sorry, if there's any Pokemon fans out there that doesn't agree with this, that's just my opinion, man. That's just my opinion. That's how it is. And the next one, which is going to be the last one for this video. Thank God, we've made it to the end. Another 3DS game. Like I said, I picked 3. I kind of cheated the system. And if I can only pick one, I'm going to go with this one, okay? If Pi is watching, I'm going to go with Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia. I know Pi picked Fire Emblem Awakening, and I definitely agree with Pi. It is a fantastic game. Fire Emblem Awakening did save the Fire Emblem franchise, so I have a lot of respect and admiration for Fire Emblem Awakening. I spent an entire summer of my life playing Fire Emblem Awakening, so it's not like I don't like it. But put Fire Emblem Echoes next to Fire Emblem Awakening, and there can only be one winner, okay? There's one game that is clearly superior, and it's Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Just a wonderful remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, which was the second Fire Emblem game to be ever released. So this is not a completely original game, it is a remake, but they really did such an amazing job out of it. They introduced some new characters, they introduced some new songs, introduced some new bosses, some new maps, they introduced the dungeon system, which actually is later used in Fire Emblem Three Houses. It all started with Fire Emblem Echoes. The mechanic was first introduced in this game, and essentially the mechanic is freely walking around, exploring a map, and not having this sort of layout where it's kind of a chess layout. You can just freely walk around and explore certain dungeons. But yeah, it just, look, as much as I love Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Echoes is just better in every way possible. The voice acting is on point. The game is difficult, which is a breath of fresh air, okay? The newer Fire Emblem games really toned down the difficulty. Fire Emblem Awakening was a cakewalk. Fire Emblem Fates, let's not even talk about that one. It's kind of the black sheep of the Fire Emblem franchise. It's just such a such a fucking letdown. Fire Emblem Three Houses can be difficult if you pick the maddening difficulty. But Fire Emblem Echoes is difficult no matter what. Alright, it's just that old school difficulty that you've come to know with older Fire Emblem games, and I definitely appreciated that players had to go the extra way to think about their strategy and to really plan their next move, which is what Fire Emblem is all about. It's a strategy game, right? So you expect players to play in a smart way, not to just throw their strongest characters and clear the map. That's kind of what I do when I stream the game, though, because I can't really focus and think about a proper strategy. But when you play on your own time, you want to just think of the best way possible to complete every single map. And there you go. Fire Emblem Echoes is exactly that. It's gonna mess with your brain. You're gonna have to think about it carefully. You're gonna have to be a smart bunny for that one. But that would be my favorite 3DS game. If I can only pick one, this would be it. And how long have I been recording now? 33 minutes. Okay, you know what? This is not as bad as I expected. I'm actually proud of myself. I actually managed to keep this rather short. And I think I didn't even play the freaking clip, so let me just show you a little bit of Fire Emblem Echoes, okay? I did get the clip for that reason, to show you the game a little bit. I actually recommended this game to someone that never played Fire Emblem, and once they played it, they fell in love with it. So, this game does magical things. But that's gonna be it for my first part of Piedisliker's Challenge, my favorite video games per video game console. These were all the Nintendo ones, and you can probably guess what my top 10 favorite games of all time would look like from this, because there's definitely some games on here that would be on my top 10 favorite games of all time list. EarthBound, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Pokemon Emerald, a lot of great games here. So all these games, I talked about them because I feel they deserve to be played, and they deserve some more recognition if they don't have enough already. But I'm gonna cut the first part right here. Thank you all for watching this long-ass video. I'm doing it for Pi, so hopefully he appreciates it. I'm taking some of my own free time to do this for Pi, so you better be grateful, you bastard! But yeah, there you go, guys. I'll see you in the next part where I talk about games that are not Nintendo related. How about that? That's crazy, right? I've played other games than Nintendo games. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So I'll see you in part 2. Take care now, and bye-bye.